Coming up, Tzu Chi volunteers in the Philippines join the Mass held by Pope Francis in Tacloban, Philippines. We see how Tzu Chi Foundation inspired residents in Tacloban, Philippines to help each other and give back to society. Welcome to DA Headlines. I'm Helen Nell. Thank you for joining us. We kick off the show in the Philippines, led by the Tzu Chi Philippines Chapter Director Alfredo Lee and the Tzu Chi Foundation Cultural Director He Risheng. 60 local and Tzu Chi volunteers were among the guests of honor at the Mass held by Pope Francis on the 17th of this month in Tacloban City. Their presence at the ceremony, which saw over 100,000 participants, showed how respected and loved Tzu Chi has become, not only in Tacloban but in the Philippines as a whole.
This is the moment that everyone here has been waiting for. As Pope Francis gets off the airplane, Tzu Chi volunteers are among those in the audience to witness this historic moment. Their presence says volumes regarding the respect that Tzu Chi has earned here in Tacloban. Over 100,000 people have gathered to attend Mass led by Pope Francis. Among the 300 special guests, 60 of them are Tzu Chi volunteers.
We are here to represent Buddhism and Tzu Chi. We want to show to the people of the Philippines how different religions can coexist in harmony.
I think this is also a day of Thanksgiving. What the Pope was emphasizing is how you live with people experiencing tragedies. It's not just a question of giving them something, but spending time with them. And I salute the people. This is a day that we honor them.
The respect and gratitude the city has for Tzu Chi is a result of the NGO's constant presence for good following Haiyan. Through its Cash for Work programs, Tzu Chi has helped rebuild the Basilica del Santo Nino, as well as constructed hundreds of prefab classrooms and prefab homes for survivors.
Mercy and compassion are basically beliefs. But when you show mercy, you have to demonstrate it. And that's why the Pope made it a point to come here and to be here and to see it. Just like I said, like organizations and like the Tzu Chi Foundation that came here while, people are suffering.
With his love and the power of the church behind him, the Pope has always made caring for the poor a priority. In the end, Buddhism and Catholicism are not that different, and today they are both here sharing their blessings with the city's population.
It is like this wind and rain. We will always be by the side of the citizens of Tacloban to have the opportunity to listen to the Pope, to see his empathy. I believe that Tzu Chi and Master Zheng Yan have become an essential part of people's lives here.
A common compassion for all beings, a vow to bring compassion to where it is needed. Whether Buddhism or Catholicism, messages such as these will continue to inspire love and care in countless hearts.
Despite Typhoon Makila on January 18th, Pope Francis still arrived in Tacloban, Philippines to hold Mass for over 100,000 eagerly waiting residents. This visit from the Pope brought about a renewed sense of hope for these Haiyan survivors and showed residents that they have not been abandoned in these difficult times. Let's take a look.
Catastrophe. Sentí que tenía que estar aquí.
In the Philippines, Taclobanians bathe in the security and comforts offered by Pope Francis' words. This papal visit also showed residents still recovering from Typhoon Haiyan that they are not alone.
Jesus will never let you down. He repeated it, I think, 3 times. And it's a very comforting message for all of us.
He brings hope, and that after all the storm, that life is still beautiful no matter what happened. Yes.
Despite the rain, the approaching typhoon, and the long night before, residents are overjoyed to have this opportunity to see Pope Francis up close and personal.
At first, it was very tiring, but after seeing the Pope, I'm no longer tired, but spiritually energized.
Very much blessed, the Taclobanons, because of that opportunity that we were able to see the Pope for the first time Tacloban.
Though Mass has ended, the Pope's visit has brought a vigor to Tacloban, as smiles and laughter return to residents' faces.
Part of Pope Francis' visit to the Philippines was to hold Mass in the Typhoon Haiyan devastated of Tacloban on January 17th. In order to attend the service, participants lined up the night before to get a place. Strict security guidelines were also in place to ensure the Pope's safety. Despite all the restrictions, residents took it all in stride, simply glad to have a chance to see the Pope.
As far as the eye can see, residents of Tacloban, Philippines are lined up to attend Mass, hosted by Pope Francis himself.
We got here at 11:30 in the morning. Our group arrived in 6 cars. We are prepared, especially our rosaries.
I brought yoga mats, food, tissues, t-shirts and raincoats.
Participants slept at the venue in order to get a place in the Mass the next day. The sleeping mats and food were essential.
I'm very excited and happy. For us Catholics, seeing the Pope fulfills one of our life's goals. It's really a sense of accomplishment.
As there are strict security guidelines, bags brought into the stadium must be transparent and subject to searches. The final security measure is a metal detector test. There is a full-body metal detector scan before participants can fully enter the venue. Water is also a prohibited item. Once inside, staff members will guide participants to their designated area. Helping to seat the hundreds and thousands of residents, staff members here are glad to be of service to the pontiff.
This is my only opportunity to serve the Pope.
As the night carries on, residents dance to liven up the atmosphere, as all wait for Pope Francis to arrive.
Previous to Pope Francis' visit to the Philippines, Tzu Chi volunteers and Jai reporters especially paid a visit to the Pope Francis Center for the Poor in Palo, Leyte Province, which was established on January 17th. During their visit, Tzu Chi volunteers learned how the two religions can work together to bring hope and much-needed medical assistance for underprivileged residents in the area. Here's more, our report.
The main road heading into Palo Leyte Province is lined with police officers 5 meters apart as part of a drill to welcome Pope Francis to the area. In the air, helicopters are also running drills to ensure the people visit is a safe one. I'm standing here inside the Pope Francis Center for the Poor in Palo. Inside there is a medical clinic, a church, and a shelter. The Pope will also hold an event here on the afternoon of the 17th. The center, built in the Pope's name for Typhoon Haiyan survivors, will accommodate orphans and solitary seniors. In the courtyard, workers are hurrying to construct the stage ahead of the Pope's arrival.
We can accommodate each of the building 50 clients, 50 orphan, 50 abandoned elderly. And also here is our clinic.
Under the invitation of the Catholic leader of Palo, Tzu Chi volunteers visit the Pope Francis Center to learn more about the medical needs of the facilities and promise to return to assist with medical services if needed.
Tzu Chi is very strong in eye and dental treatment. So we talked to the Archbishop and said, if they need further assistance, don't hesitate to ask us.
I think he showed how can concern the poor and needy.
The efforts of Catholics and Buddhists working together for the poor will give the impoverished here the hope of a new life and a better future.
On January 17th, Pope Francis arrived in Tacloban and was greeted by a huge crowd of some 100,000 residents at the Tacloban airport. On the eve of Pope Francis' arrival, tens of thousands of residents had already flocked to the venue. Medical stations were set up and medical personnel on standby to ensure the medical needs of the pilgrims were tended to.
The papal visit to the Philippines is a major event for many Filipinos. Here in Tacloban, Pope Francis's portrait is everywhere to be seen, from posters to t-shirts to souvenirs. Even though the event was scheduled to begin at 6 p.m., thousands of residents had already flocked to the venue to secure their spot as they awaited the arrival of Pope Francis. The organizing committee made final checks to ensure everything was in place and ready for the evening.
Each area is sectioned off and represents a barangay. With 600 people crammed into this small space, the residents' safety is a concern.
Medical stations have been set up throughout the venue. Under the request of a local hospital, the Tzu Chi Foundation provided prefab classrooms which will serve as a temporary hospital.
We had planned to assemble it yesterday, but it was raining the whole day. So we came earlier today to erect the prefab units.
With the weather extremely hot and no food being provided at the venue, some 1,000 medical personnel are all on standby, ready to assist whenever and wherever needed.
We are expecting stampede, hypertension, we have syncope, heat stroke, and then we also have like the mass food poisoning, something like that.
Especially on the part of so many of the young.
Watching Pope Francis's Mass in Manila on live broadcast, many residents are filled with anticipation as they look forward to his arrival and his blessings on this land.
On January 17th, Pope Francis held a mass for people in Tacloban, the Philippines. Among the 300 special guests invited to the event, 60 were volunteers from the Tzu Chi Foundation. Prior to the event, volunteers were also invited by the country's Archbishop for a chat where representatives of the two religions had time to exchange words of gratitude and wisdom. Here's more.
After going through a security check, volunteers entered the home of Archbishop John Du. In just a day's time, 60 Tzu Chi volunteers will attend Mass given by Pope Francis himself in Tacloban, courtesy of the Archbishop himself.
People are very happy about you when they say, oh, Chuchi people around. They're giving without condition. So that's why I said, let the Chuchi be a part of our gratitude, in that celebration of gratitude to the Almighty God and gratitude to all the people of good will.
Take care of these people for a long time, so let's always appreciate that.
In addition to a message of thanks from Master Dinyan, Tzu Chi's representatives also offered a lantern inscribed with lines from the Sutra of Innumerable Meetings as a gift.
Okay. For this kind of state of mind, you keep it, go ahead, return it.
Inspired by the Sutra's message and Master Dinyan's Dharma, the Archbishop does his best to commit the message to heart as a reminder to always embrace a peaceful, compassionate heart and to work to bring the light of hope to all.
He's reminding me we have that light, the light of the Spirit, no? And we have to keep that light always bright. And as you said, the pure heart. I'll always keep that.
After their talk, the Archbishop said he would pass on the message of the Sutra, as well as Tzu Chi's contributions as an example to all of how different religions can live together with harmony and respect.
Tzu Chi volunteers in the Philippines have been bringing love and care to communities since Typhoon Haiyan hit over a year ago. These efforts have borne fruit, with thousands of locals now walking steadfast on the Tzu Chi path. In our next report, we travel to the city of Tacloban to see how Tzu Chi's love and care not only help the city rebuild, but inspire its residents to give back. The coastline here has been returned to its original beauty. Thanks to the efforts of thousands, Tacloban has been reborn. It is hard to believe that just a year ago, over 95% of Tacloban was a wasteland of broken homes and dreams.
Actually, akala namin
When Typhoon Haiyan hit, it felt like the end of days. I pray to God to be able to make it through.
Sana na maano kami, safe din, maano din kami yung.
Although it has been more than a year since Haiyan, the memory of the disaster remains clear for residents here. There was, however, a bright spot among the darkness.
Nang dumating ang Chochi,
Tzu Chi came and brought hope for all of us.
Na nabuhayan kami.
Many people were astonished by the fact that we arrived in Tacloban on November 19th. And by the next day, we had already set up the Cash for Work drive. Even the local government found that hard to believe.
Altogether, over the space of 2 weeks, 300,000 participants spread out across the Tacloban, rebuilding the city street by street. For these efforts, Tzu Chi earned the gratitude of the city's residents.
This letter expresses my thanks to Master Zheng Yan. Although I don't have a chance to see her face to face, I hope this letter can express my feelings.
A year on, volunteers tracked down Judy, who is currently a Tzu Chi volunteer in training. In her home, bamboo banks hold a place of honor on her altar.
I put money into the bamboo bank as a way to express my thanks to the Master.
Thanks Master.
Now she introduced Tzu Chi to all she meets.
Walang conflict ang dalawa.
There is no conflict between Tzu Chi and Catholicism. Tzu Chi teaches us how to live a correct moral life. The Master's Dharma is really wonderful.
Maganda talaga.
They say that the magnanimity of the volunteers has closed the divide between the different religions here in the Philippines. And most importantly, has shown how religions can work together and help one another.
With compassion, love, and wisdom, Tacloban has been rebuilt from the ashes, and a large part of that has been thanks to Tzu Chi. In Leh province of the Philippines, Tzu Chi Foundation successfully completed the assembly of 100 prefabricated housing units in Palu, which was turned over to residents at the end of 2014. Now settled into their new homes, come the weekend, residents and volunteers organized get-togethers at the prefab housing community to build relationships and connections among neighbors. One resident even said that her life and mind has been enriched because of the Buddhist NGO. Let's take a look.
I became a widow after Typhoon Haiyan. I had 3 children and 1 on the way. Life was extremely difficult for me.
The typhoon left behind a broken family and a single mother as the sole provider and caretaker.
When I get off work, once I've done my prayers, there are still a lot of household chores waiting to be done. If my husband was still alive, I wouldn't have to struggle so much on my own.
Once on the brink of despair, the arrival of Tzu Chi volunteers became the illuminating light in Gemma's life.
Although I lost my husband, I am glad I moved into the prefab home.
Edmar, dito ka. Team leader sa
When evening falls, a patrol team made up of former Cash for Work participants patrols the site to ensure the safety of their fellow neighbors.
We're checking if it is strong and good, our cable-to-cable post, because this would serve our very strong foundation for the houses.
Inspired by the volunteers' genuineness and love, Mark takes it upon himself to help out his fellow neighbors as a way to pay the love forward and reciprocate all the kindness he has received.
Your wisdom and your compassion. We all rely on the others. It's not shameful to rely on someone.
Come the weekend, residents get together and enjoy each other's company and some simple dishes. Although the typhoon may have robbed them of everything, it, however, has not taken away their hope.
For everything she done for all of us, the villagers here, I wish Also, my kids will say, if she was here.
Papasalamat po kaming lahat.
All the residents here are so grateful to Master Dinyan. As the leader of our group, I will do my best to ensure we all treat each other like family and create a strong sense of community.
Isang pamilya, lahat po kami.
Each day is an opportunity to have a fresh start and build a better future. For many residents here, the typhoon has given them the chance at a second life.
Parts of the arrival of Typhoon Michaela, the first typhoon of 2015 that landed in the Philippines, volunteers and cash reward program participants gathered together to help the Tzu Chi built prefab community in Palo, Leh Province prepare for any possible flooding. Following the installation of new pipes and irrigation ditches, volunteers are making sure that the community's new residents can pass the typhoon safe and dry.
New prefab buildings. Here is home. Here is hope.
You baby.
This prefab community in Palo also celebrated its newest residents' arrival recently. For the couple that moved into the prefab just a month ago, the joy of this newest addition to their family is plain to see.
We are very happy that we can enjoy this new home.
Bagong bahay.
Running through the prefab community here in Palo is a drainage ditch to prevent flooding in the case of typhoon. Currently, volunteers are also strengthening flood prevention measures at the edge of the village. With the year's first typhoon heading towards the Philippines, casual work participants are installing pipes in drainage ditches to help with the drainage of excess water. Volunteers say they have learned much from previous typhoons.
Before we noticed that during the typhoon, it became flooded in the area. The water rises up, and we noticed that we can fix the problem, changing it to a big pipe so the water will be flowing towards the creek.
The water pipes and foundations are all to help against the typhoon. Volunteers also make sure to get rid of excess undergrowth with donated weed cutters.
Before, they cut the weeds by hand, which took a lot of time. We thought about speeding up that process. This is one of the weed cutters that we have donated.
Living in the community for a month, a bond of trust has been built between residents and the volunteers. Hearing of the tragedy in Malaysia, residents opened up their pocketbooks to give what they can. For residents here, thanks to the love of Tzu Chi, there is no reason to fear the elements.